You are muted. I think your internet might be a little slow. All right, well, we're going to call the meeting to order, the regular Board of Selectmen's meeting, May 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. to order. In attendance is myself, Mike Gergo, First Selectman, Bob Carlson, Selectman, Nita Kincaid, Selectwoman. We have some guests on the meeting tonight as well for some of the agenda items towards the beginning here. But as always, first on our agenda is public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. We do have a pretty hefty agenda tonight, but as usual, we'd request comments are kept to 2 minutes in respect for everyone's time. Bailey will manage that. Looks as if there's no comments tonight, which is fine. So we'll move into our first agenda item, which is the tax relief program discussion. So for the benefit of everyone on the call, this is something where the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen back a couple of years ago, or I don't know, a year and a half ago or so, we started looking into this as far as tax relief options in town, and the Board of Finance recently brought up the fact that they would like to see us try to move something forward or do some research on this. So to that end, tonight we've brought in Daryl Del Grosso, the town assessor, to talk to us about tax relief programs that are available to us. And Daryl, I see your video may have disappeared, which is fine. If you're having a problem with your connectivity, it might be better to keep your video off if need be, and just use your audio. Sometimes that helps. It looks like you were freezing up a little bit there, but I don't know if you want to, Daryl, you want to kind of unmute and give us a little bit of the lay of the land tonight. I don't know if Daryl's having some problems. So I had some conversations with Daryl, and let me try to,
Mike, do you want to call him on my cell phone and put him on speaker and see if that works?
You can try, sure. I think we're gonna have a hard time hearing him. I'll try to give a little bit of background, and then he can interrupt me. So basically, there's a few options we have at our disposal for things we could offer for tax relief programs. Right now, we do offer elderly tax relief programs, and we offer it up to what the state offers. We don't go above and beyond that. We can go above and beyond that. We can offer additional tax relief if we wanted to. I also talked to him today, and there he is. Hang on, you're connecting to audio. There he is.
He's gonna try his laptop.
Okay, so he's going to connect his laptop. So
Yeah,
why don't we, instead of wasting our time with our very full agenda, which is probably going to take him a little bit to connect, what you guys want to move on to? We'll have Donnie do his stuff first, and then we'll go to Daryl afterwards. Is that all right?
Yeah, let's do that, Mike.
All right. All right, Donnie, why don't you, Daryl, we're going to table you till the next item. And Donnie, thank you for joining us. Basically, we have a couple of things that Donnie's going to talk about tonight, and he has a presentation to go through. So I don't know if I want to I won't mention anything until he goes through his presentation. But I think I would just say that he had some of this stuff he was going to bring forward anyway. And of course, now as we get into the budget discussions, it's probably timely to have some of these discussions now anyhow. So, Donnie?
Yeah, so how this all came about is we had a meeting with SCARA, and one part of the meeting came up was that towns are so inconsistent with prices for stickers or what they charge for certain things that people start to transfer station shop to where they can get rid of the stuff cheaper, either by getting a mailing address or post office box or something like that to get rid of the stuff cheaper. So not just us, but other towns are having that issue also. So they try to do a pricing sheet across the board where it might work in Waterford, but it's not going to work in North Stonington, because in Waterford, and I'll show you later what they're paying, it's going to be way too high for what the people in North Stonington are going to be willing to pay. So I'll go ahead and start it. So I did some transfer station comparisons. And this is all with the SCARA membership. The first sheet here is cost versus income, and this is over a 3-year period, 2019, 2020, and 2021. The first line is the total cost of what we spent in tipping fees. This doesn't include wages. This is just what the town puts out for getting rid of our garbage and other items that we get rid of. The income is what we take in for mattresses. Well, we're not doing mattresses anymore, but electronics or small items that we take in, tires, stuff like that. And then the tipping fees is what is paid to us by the haulers that we have come to town and haul stuff in. And then this is the actual cost that comes out of taxpayers' pockets that we pay to get rid of garbage each year. $55,000, $57,000, and in 2021 we're about halfway there, or a little more than halfway there on what we got so far this year. Everybody see that? Yeah. So the next slide shows actually every town that's in SCARA, what they pay for. I'm gonna have to get up. Do you want to put my mask on? Okay. What they pay for certain things. I highlighted North Stonington because you see we're like a Geico commercial, free. Sorry, Mike, but free. We do a lot of stuff free to taxpayers. The only thing we really charge for, as you can see on there, is the 1-day pass for people who aren't residents, or maybe somebody's bringing some stuff in for a resident, but they're not a registered vehicle. So we charge them $10. And then of course the tires and appliances and furniture. And the reason we charge furniture is because we have to take it apart, and that is labor involved, and that's where that comes in. If you look at the permit fees, which I want to focus on for a minute, a lot of the towns charge, that's their stickers. A lot of towns charge, like Groton, $140 for the residents for the year to do their trash at the transfer station. Griswold's $40, Ledger $25. Montville charges $100. The senior citizens pay $65. In Montville, they do give them a break there. So take a minute to look at that part of it. You'll see comparable, like Stonington, and Stonington charges $5, and they charge $5 for commercial people, and then a day pass is $25. When we get over to the bulky waste items, well, let me go back to the garbage. Some of the garbage is picked up by the towns. They have their own service that the town provides, either through the haulers they bring in to haul off for them, like Griswold uses, because I'm from Griswold. They use Willimantic Waste to come in and pick up people's garbage. So you can't bring it to the transfer station. Same thing with recyclables, you can't bring those to the transfer station. Now, when we get over to bulky waste, you'll see that they charge for bulky waste in all the towns, pretty much a lot of the towns. I think we are the only one that's free, except for in Groton, you have to have a permit, and it costs you so much money for the permit to bring this stuff in. A lot of the towns don't have these scales that we have sitting up there. They have, what's the easiest way is a dump truck, for instance. So a pickup truck in Ledyard is considered 1 cubic yard, and then a small dump truck is 3 cubic yards, and then a large dump truck is 6 cubic yards. And they charge differently for bulky waste and shingles. You can see on there a small truck is $35, the medium truck is $125, and the large truck is $250. If you get over to asphalt, if you get over to brush, the different sizes they charge for different size vehicles. And it can get pretty expensive for the brush piles. We don't charge for any of that. Another town that charges by the truckload is our neighbor Preston, which is comparable in size to us. Preston charges per truckload for bulky waste and brush. Right now, Scara picks up the fees on all that for us, so we're not paying for the brush to be recycled. And we are very fortunate, we're one of the few towns, I think there's 2 of us left, that actually have a bulky waste pile. And I'll talk more about the bulky waste pile in a minute. In Waterford, they have the garbage picked up at their house, and the residents have to pay for a $96 gallon trash bin. One bin is $50 a month, and then a $10 rental, and a tipping fee is $62 per ton. Right now, the bulky waste is charged in those towns that don't have the bulky waste piles, it's $92 a ton to get rid of that through Willimantic Waste. And that's what it's costing on top of the fees that's already being paid, we would have to pay in the future. Next slide. So if we charge for stickers, you could do a $5 or $10, $80 off the bat was kind of crazy when we first did that the first time. So a $5 or $10 is what I based on. We average about 1,100 stickers a year at the transfer station. That would be your per year income. And then if we started to charge for bulky waste, we would base it basically on what Preston's doing, which would be average that much income. Next. So now we put the cost in there with the additional income. If we go to cost of town, it's $55,000. If we did $10 just for stickers, it'd be $11,000 more of an income. And then if we went to the $5 a sticker, it'd be $5,500 income. And then if you add in projected what bulky waste would bring in, that'd be another $66,000. So you're looking at a reduction in there, plus the $13,000 average that we make from just the other stuff that we get rid of. So taking that all into consideration, the net cost to the town would be a plus of $1,500 versus the $55,000 that we spend yearly on an estimated number, just by the $10 on the sticker and the bulky waste charge per vehicle. Issues to consider right now. The transfer station has no locations for ramps or dumping into a bulky waste hauler place, because eventually our bulky waste pile is going to be gone. We're not going to be able to put any more in there, and we're going to have to do something to where we have to dump into containers. And logistically right now, the transfer station has no area that I could actually build something to do this in the future if we had to do it. Again, at the present time, Scara transfer stations are either hauling the bulky waste to Willimantic Waste themselves, or Willimantic Waste is hauling the material at a current cost of, $94 a ton. I thought it was 92. It's $94 a ton for the towns to get rid of it. It is estimated that the bulky waste site receives between 86 to 120 cubic yards of waste material on a weekly basis. Taking that into consideration, the life expectancy for the bulky waste area could be 10 years, could be 15 years, could be a little more before closing it. At the present rate, it's estimated that to seal a bulky waste pile area could be as low as $200,000 if the town was allowed to do it, upwards of $1 million if you had to bring somebody in and they had to do it through environmental study stuff. So sometime in the future, we're going to have to go from this to this, and it's going to cost that. So this is just an informational thing to make you aware of it. It might not be something you have to do this year. It might not have to see something you do next year. I'm just trying to make everybody aware that this is going to be coming in the future, and something's got to be done. We got to start a stepping point, whether it's the $5 sticker or $10 sticker, but something has to start to move the ball forward. Coming in at $80 is never going to work. You have to start low and work high. Any questions?
Thank you, Donnie. I think the key takeaways are that you know that we're going to have a problem with the bulky waste pile. It's not that far off in the future. So I think trying to have some sort of a fee instated would help not only the revenue side, but also control the amount of waste possibly coming in a little bit. And, I think anything we can do to try to make people more mindful about what they're getting rid of is helpful too. But I mean, it's just a discussion now. Obviously, we're working on the budget, so I thought it was timely to have Donnie come in because there's a possibility if we wanted to institute any of these fees, I don't think we're talking about trying to make money here. We're talking about trying to break even. I think it's such a balance in town that, people don't want to necessarily see their taxes go up. They don't want to pay more, but yet these things all cost money. So how do we balance that? So I guess questions from the selectmen for Donnie while he's here. Go ahead, Bob.
I don't have any questions for Donnie per se, just a statement. So I see permit fees as an additional tax, as we've heard in other meetings, and I see it the same way. However, things aren't getting any easier. I agree that a $60, which I think it was the last time it was tried to be a permit fee put on, is not going to fly. I think a $5 or $10 fee would. I think $10 would make sense to me. The other thing is if we can do that as revenue in the budget for $11,000, the people that are paying that tax are people that are using the transfer station. The people that don't use the transfer station, they're either doing something else, having trash pickup or whatever. They're already paying a haul to do that. So it's one of those things that I use the transfer station myself. My wife does. We've always used it since we moved here. To me, a $10 fee is not going to break the bank for a year's sticker. Now, I also know it's also a conduit to a higher fee down the road, but for now, $10 is very, looking at what the other towns charge, $10 makes sense to me. Also a fee for bulky waste makes sense for me. So I'm not opposed to it. Again, I don't like additional taxes, and I think this is one, but I think it's a very reasonable tax. And with the price of getting rid of bulky waste and trash in general, getting more expensive, we have to do something. And if it helps us in the budget, it would make sense to do it.
Nita, what are your thoughts?
He has not left anything for me to say. I agree with everything that he says. I would probably go a little bit higher on the money, but I'm perfectly fine with what he's saying.
Well, I think Bob hit it all on the head for me too. I don't have anything else to add. So I think when we get to our budget discussions, we should talk about what we want to insert in there for revenue. And I think that's good. So Donnie, I had the next item, which I'll take up while you're here, was the speed. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Nita.
I wanted to mention one thing, and I know there's nothing we can do about it, but for me, one of the reasons that this is so important to be able to keep this is that the more we get of these big trucks in our town, up and down those roads and everything, and it's not just one group doing it too, it just is disgusting. It takes away, I think, from a lot of things, and I feel badly that we have moved so much in that direction.
I guess I'm not following what you're referring to.
About the people that pay their own people to come and pick up the stuff, that those trucks are in town, all the time.
Oh, yes, the haulers, yes.
It's just too sad that it's gotten to be that
Yeah,
way a lot of our town, honestly.
I understand.
Can I ask a quick question of Donnie? Just a clarification.
Sure.
For the bulky waste, it was adding the small, the medium, and the large?
Yes,
So it was the 67,500 was your
correct.
ballpark? Thank you.
Ballpark, yes.
Thank you. Just for, if we're putting numbers in later, I just want to make sure I'm putting in the right one.
So if I could, I'll move on to the speed hump discussion, and then we'll have Daryl if he was able to fix his computer. Bob, you had asked for an update on the speed humps before Donnie gives us a little bit of an update. I had told you at the last meeting that I thought it would only be fair to talk to the traffic commission about it, that they hadn't been formed at the time when we had discussed this and ultimately decided to put the speed humps in. So they did have a meeting at my request. I did review with them that this had been basically decided. However, I wanted to make sure that it was mentioned. I didn't think it would be right for us to move something so important forward if they had now been formed without having a discussion with them about it. And basically, I mean, they understood the fact that if a decision was made, is what it is. I will say that they all were in agreement and actually motioned forward for us to consider doing a study, even a short study, before moving forward with the speed humps. I know that a lot of studies have been done. I know there's been a lot of work and observation, and a lot of folks have certainly opinions about all of this down here. I think the feeling was, even if there was something where we threw a line across the road and just did some car counts and some speed counts just to have a little more data, that was kind of their feeling. I did tell them that I would bring that information back to the selectmen. And again, however, we basically had kind of made a decision last year to go forward with this. So with that, Donnie, I don't know if you want to talk about timeline, cost, anything else you want to add with regards to the speed humps.
Just that I was part of the meeting also, and it was discussed that a traffic study should be done because there is some opposition. There's the pros and the cons for it. So they wanted to do a traffic study involving the DOT type of actuators on the sides of the road that could determine weight, speed, number of vehicles that travel through the area, as well as pedestrian traffic on that road. That was one of the things that was discussed before going ahead and doing it. Once these are in, these are permanent. So they wanted to make sure that everything was, agreeable to what they wanted, they thought everybody should have an input on it. So that's what they wanted to do the study on. Let it go a little bit further. As far as implementing them, it probably wouldn't take me more than a week to get the road cut out and putting the asphalt in. Trying to find the measurements we came up with was 3 foot uprise, a 6 foot rise, and then a 4 foot flat spot, and then a 3 foot on the other side. So you're looking at 10-foot sections of the road that would rise up to those speed bump sizes, and those would match about what New London's at. Still not guaranteeing that vehicles will not be damaged. You get an exotic car comes through there, gets damaged, somebody's going to be responsible. So that was some of the other things that they took into consideration at the meeting. Whatever damages occur to these vehicles.
So with that discussion, I mean, again, we had planned to implement these speed humps in the spring. Is there any change? Is there any change of heart with regards to any of this from the selectmen? Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
No, I have to disagree with Don on this one. As far as the study goes, there's residents that have been living in that village who've been conducting their own study with their eyes over the last multiple years. I don't think it needs to be studied again. I know you went out there with Donnie and a small group to determine where the speed humps were going to go. I see they're on Main Street only, and I figured that was because you wanted to see how it went before you put any on Wyosop or Rocky Hollow. I'm not sure about that, but I did see the diagram that was sent in our package.
Yeah, that's Bob, just for clarity, I pulled that out of the package. That's not the only spots that they're going. That's why it wasn't included in the final package, I think. We had sat down with DJ, me, Donnie, and DJ, and found spots, I think, on not just Main Street and all the areas we talked about last year.
All right, so again, so I have the one page, and that was the package I printed from, I think it was Friday or Monday. Whatever. Yeah. But anyway, so with that said, I think that we promised the villages that we would put this in. We voted on it last year. It was supposed to be in the spring. It's spring now. It's getting actually close to summer. They've been waiting for the weather to get mild, because that's why we told them we didn't put them in the fall. I know we have a traffic committee, but that's after the fact. We've already voted on this. And I don't believe there's a study needed when we have people have lived there. They live with these things. They put their eyes on these cars. They know how fast they go. And as far as exotic cars getting damaged, the speed humps all through Quaney, the speed humps all through, Watch Hill, places with a lot more exotic cars than we have in North Stonington. And as long as you have the proper signage and they're visible speed humps, it's not that, it shouldn't be the town's problem. I mean, they shouldn't be speeding. If there's signs saying speed hump, slow down, they should slow down. So I don't see where the other towns that have very expensive cars and multi-million-dollar houses going to them, having damages on their vehicles. From what I know about this speed hump is you can drive over it somewhere around 20 to 25 miles an hour, which is what the speed limit is in town anyway. So in the village rather. So I'm opposed to holding this back any farther. I'd like to see these speed humps go in within the next couple of weeks. It's just my opinion.
Nita, do you have any feedback?
I agree with what's been said.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to, so I do want to make sure what we're putting in is very similar to like what New London is. It's not a crazy grade or anything like that, but it's enough that it does slow things down. I don't think they're unattractive if we do them right. So I'll work with Donnie and we'll get it going in the next very short period of time here. So, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Donnie, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time for being here. Daryl, are you back with,
Okay.
are you back, Daryl, with video and audio by chance? You're just muted if you were able to get your audio, Daryl. You look unmuted now.
There he is.
We got you, but we can't hear you. You trying to call him, Christine? Maybe we can try that.
Hey Daryl, we're just gonna have you on my phone on speaker, okay? Okay. So Mike, can you hear it okay?
I can, yeah. Somebody's got to mute. There might be feedback, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, that's fine, Daryl. We can hear you.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
yep. So I kind of set the table a little bit while you were having the technical difficulties before. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the few tax relief options that we discussed, and then the selectmen can decide how they want to proceed.
Okay. There's a couple of programs for the elderly homeowners program that you might be interested in. Okay? They're called local options. And the reason that the state allows them is that they have a set. It comes out, let me start again. We have about 70 people on the homeowners program right now. Okay? The average benefit is about $250. All right? Now, if you'd like to give a little more, then the state allows you to do that in several different programs. One of the programs is a local option called 12-124A, and that allows anybody, based on your income, to qualify for the program. And if their taxes are 8% over the taxes that they pay, then they can qualify for the reduction of the rest. All right? It's one of the programs. You have the option to put a lien on the property or not. And I guess you can charge up to 6%.
think the Board of Finance had tasked the Board of Selectmen with looking at relief for some of these taxpayers who are, that they're hearing from that feel like they're, on very limited fixed income, which many of these taxpayers already are receiving, the state, they qualify for the state program, so they are receiving some tax relief. I think I've heard feedback from other Board of Finance members that, perhaps the income limits that the state establishes are not high enough. And that, even though, so a family that's making, $60,000 a year, could be in need. The other thing is, which we talked about today, Daryl, was, is there an appetite for not just looking at the elderly with this? There's other people who are not elderly that are, and there are programs, there are options for us to do something there too, income based, to offer relief.
If their taxes are 8% more than their income, you can do something.
Can you repeat that, Daryl? We didn't hear you quite right.
If their taxes are 8% over their income, okay? I'm gonna give a check. So if their income is 15,000 and their taxes are 1,200, they could qualify for some benefit. If their income is 30 and their taxes are 28, they could get some benefit. 8%.
So that's another option for us to look at. That would,
Good for anybody.
yeah, it's good for anybody, not just elderly. So I guess just general discussion from the selectmen, and certainly Daryl's here to answer questions. So I know the sound isn't the greatest. I apologize, but hopefully we can get through it. The selectmen have questions?
You need to have a question? I thought I saw a hand go up. If not, I do.
Go ahead, Bob.
So in reading these, and I did stop by the town hall and speak to Daryl today, I didn't understand the difference between the 12-129N and the 12-170V. One is a 65 and over, 170 and over. I didn't really see a difference in what he said to me is basically is, how generous does the town want to be? Obviously, if 65 and over, more people qualify. I think that 65 and over makes sense. Now, let me just put a disclaimer. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm over 65. So I will say this, that when I speak in terms of the 65 and over, as long as I'm a paid employee of the town, and right now I am as a selectman, I would never put in for this. But I think that the 65 and over made sense to me. It didn't, I don't know how many more people it includes, and maybe that's something we would need to know, would be what would the dollar value be to the town, or the loss of revenue would it be for the town if it went from 70 to 65? And I don't know what that number is. I don't know if it's 15,000 or 150,000. So, but I think that would make a difference on how we select which of these things we might want to do. I think we do need to do something. I think there's also something in here as far as not just elderly, but also for disabled, 100% disabled. So I think that we need a little bit more discussion on this. We've had these in front. Unfortunately, I can't hear Daryl that well. And maybe we could sit down and have a meeting when we go to in-person meetings. I think we're doing that in June anyway, Mike. So maybe if we can put these off till we have an in-person meeting and get face-to-face on it, have more discussion. And maybe we can get that number if we have an idea, or maybe Darryl has an idea what the difference would be to the town, 65 and over versus 70 and over. But I'm still a little confused on it. I don't think we have enough information at this point.
Okay, there are several differences, but the easiest way to do it, if I get your email, Bob, I'll send you an email. If I get your email address,
I'll give to you tomorrow.
Yeah, best thing to do is send it to Christine and she'll disseminate it to all the selectmen so we all have the same information. But what that's fine, I agree. I think we're not gonna be, I think that we need more discussion on this, and I think we need more in-depth discussion on it. And I think we should look at, if we're really gonna do this, I don't think it's just the elderly that are in this situation. I think there's single parents out there that may be in this situation. I think if we're gonna provide relief, based on income, I'm not sure that I think what Daryl was saying about the 8% option, depending on income, we may be able to provide some relief to other people too, if we're really going to be serious about this. So I'm favorable to talking about this at our first in-person meeting, which will be, which our first regular in-person meeting would be June 22nd. So we could talk about it then. I don't see this, just because of when we would have to pull the trigger on something like this. I think we needed at least 30 days before the tax bills went out. That's just simply probably not going to happen, I don't think. But it's not like we can't take it up on the 22nd and possibly do something. So are we okay with just bringing this up on our June 22nd meeting when we're in person, and maybe have Daryl come back for that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with that, Mike.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've read this 2 or 3 times today, and I thought, I'm not sure I'm getting what this really is telling me, so I'm being honest with you. I would really like to see a board with explanations of what you could talk about. That would be much better.
Okay. And we may want to do, and maybe it's not even that meeting. We may want to do it. I don't know. I don't know if we want to have a joint meeting with Board of Finance. Well, we maybe should discuss it first and then go to them with it, because it is the Board of Selectmen action on this. All right. Is there any other?
Daryl, what did you say?
Say it again?
You said something. What did you just say?
You're getting tight on time for when the tax bills have to go out.
Right. We're tight on time with the tax bills, was what Daryl said.
Yes, I know that. All right. Well, Daryl, we're gonna invite you back. And meanwhile, we'll do a little more homework. If you want to send an email to Christine, she'll get it to the selectmen, and we will keep this conversation going. So thank you for taking the time tonight.
All right, thanks, Daryl.
All right. That leads us into the budget discussion. So we are all aware that the budget did fail at referendum. So with that being said, we obviously have to have some discussion. The Board of Finance is having a special meeting tomorrow night. So depending on what comes out of this meeting tonight with us, I will plan to be there. I'm sure you guys probably will too, to present to them anything that we kind of come up with. So I don't know what the preference of the selectmen is. If you want to run through the budget kind of page by page, you want to have a general discussion. What's your flavor on this?
So typically, Mike, you have areas you've already discussed with Christine. If you have those, why don't we go through those? And then if there's something that myself and Nita wants to get to when we get to a certain section of the budget, we can bring it up. I know one thing I looked at today, it's farther along in the budget, but I saw that we got a bid on water testing that's a little bit higher than what we have in the budget, so that would have to be adjusted down the road. But I mean, it's not a lot of money. But yeah, I think I'd rather listen to what you've come up with, Christine, and start there as a starting point.
Okay, yeah, Christine and I have met, and I've made some recommendations that I'll go through. Why don't I do this? We'll go through page by page, and if there's anything you want to add, I mean, and when I say page by page, I don't know if you have an original budget copy with you. You do? Okay, perfect. Perfect. Very prepared. Very good. Okay. So on page 4, I'll just start. I would suggest elimination of the B107 office expenses. That's the only suggestion I have on that page that I've made. And interrupt me if you guys have anything you want to add. I'm just going to move through it. We have a big agenda, so. Stop.
I've got to get a different budget. That's not the right one.
Oh, okay, okay, take your time. Yep, take your time. I'll be right back as well. I'll go fill my water bottle.
So B107 is right now $1,000 and he wants to make that zero.
He said, did he say zero?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Your budget is the town meeting, May 10th, bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike went to fill his water, just give him a minute, Bob. And Bob, you're working off the one that says town meeting, May 10th? Bottom right hand.
I don't have that one. I've got the last, I'm gonna have to work off the one that was the last big budget we did prior to going to referendum, but I think it's the same numbers, so. But
Gotcha. Yeah, so that change was B107, taking it from $1,000 to zero.
yeah, I have it, I have 1,000 to change it from 1,000 to 0. Okay,
Correct.
got it.
Page 5. So unfortunately, and we can discuss this, and we should discuss this. We received some correspondence in the budget process from, after we'd already kind of moved forward, from Kerma on the possibility of a cyber policy. So you guys probably have seen in the news, where people are held, there's like ransom that's held on your computer systems, and basically, companies, towns are really in bad shape when something like that happens. I mean, we have great security. I'm not saying anything's wrong, but I'm sure that the oil people that just got held hostage thought the same thing after they paid millions of dollars to get out of that. So there's a cyber policy that has been proposed to us. I think it's going to come in somewhere around $15,000 for that policy. The Board of Ed is electing to get the policy. I'm going to suggest that we put 15,000 more in the B20 line for this policy.
Mike, can I just give a clarification? So because of the way the industry changed, our normal LAT policy used to include cyber. So now, because there's been so many incidents nationwide, worldwide, it's no longer feasible for them to include it, and it has to be an additional.
Right,
add-on.
right. Makes sense.
So it's through Kerma, so that would be an ad, unfortunately.
So is that the 82,935 line? 82,935?
Yes,
And you want to add 15,000 to that? Is that it?
yes.
So it'll be 97,935.86.
I'll come back to B2004 and B2005. I have a suggestion that will affect those lines as we move forward. I'll move to page 6. Actually, I'm not going to make any recommendations on page 6 that I had. Page 7, Bob, B2724, you already recognized that proposal for GEI came in higher, so that'd be an increase to 18,000.
What's the number?
B2724,
Thank you.
that would increase to 18.
It's not a very big increase, though.
No.
$775.
B30 cemeteries, I was thinking we could reduce them by 1,000 down to 7,000.
So Mike, have we got reports from the cemetery commission on how much money they actually spend? I know they put flags out, they have done cleanups. I was actually worked on one of them that we had some people from, I think, Hartford come in and help with one. Do we have any kind of reporting system of what monies they did spend and how they spend it?
So on the last manager's report, I don't know what our number was. I have to pull it up.
I'll grab it quickly.
Yeah, that'd be great. What they've spent thus far, but I know, I do know some of their work is still, to come this fiscal year, even though there's not a lot of time left, but obviously seasonally, we're in the time now where some of that work would be getting done as well. So I don't want to, we're very fortunate. We have a newly kind of active cemetery commission who are pretty motivated to get some stuff done, which is great. So I don't want to, I hate to take anything from them, but obviously this budget failed, so we have to look everywhere to make a difference.
They've spent $1,828 so far, but they did submit in May some other expenses, so.
Well, I'm sure there's a busy time of the year with Memorial Day coming up, so.
Right. So I'd bring that down to 7.
Yeah. What about the library?
The library? Well, it's a tough one. I
Yeah.
know we're underfunding the library. We've been underfunding them all along, but
Yeah.
left with very few places to make tough decisions. I think there's got to be probably some sort of a give there, I guess. Do you have any suggestions?
Maybe something not too huge, like $3,000 or something like that.
Bob?
I agree, Mike. It's unfortunate. We've tried not to, this is like the last holdout. We've tried to stay away from this line as much as possible since the budget process has started. I think we all appreciate what the library does, but unfortunately, there's a lot of other areas in town that have taken hits also that are just as tough. But this one, I think in general, I would hate to do it, but I think we have to. The last time that the voters voted on a budget 2 years ago, not counting the one that they just voted down, I think they were probably around 30,000 back then. We went up to 40,000 or 50,000, and now we're up to 70. So I'm thinking maybe a $5,000 reduction wouldn't be the end of the world.
So would you favor that, Nita? Bring it down to 65,000 then?
Yes, I was just trying to do something that wouldn't make it seem as though we were taking as much as we could, but I guess you're right. I'm okay with that.
That's still over a 10% increase for them over last year. So I think that's a pretty, listen, I don't think we're funding them at the level we need to, but I think over a 10% increase is still. So let's bring that to 65. B3007. We need to add $16,000 to that line, only because we got a grant, so there'll be an offset in revenue for that. But that'll bring that line up to 31,000. And we have to match that grant. That's why. So that's great news that we got a grant.
The 16,000 is the grant? Is that what
Yes.
Okay.
But we have to add it over here as an expense to offset the grant that's coming in for it.
So Mike, is that raising the 15,000 to 16, or is it 15,000 plus 16?
To 31,000. But there's 16,000 that'll offset in revenue. And that's the only way we can use the grant, is if we put it in the budget or go for an additional appropriation for it, which we're not going to do.
And it's a matching grant, so we have to have our piece in there. It's not just free money we have to match.
Yeah. Bob, you look perplexed by it. Are you good with that?
Well, I just don't understand how the 16,000 can be considered revenue. It's a grant. But we still spend the 16,000. So I don't know how the other 16,000 that comes to us is revenue. I mean, it would almost be like if we put in 32,000 and we get 16 of it back. You know, and so I don't know how we're considering the matching grant as a revenue, that's all.
Well, we were gonna spend 15,000. We always agreed to that, or at least we had before this budget. We went for a grant to try to double our efforts on the weed control, you know, and luckily we're successful in getting one. So that.
Okay, so now I understand. So you're counting I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So you're considering the 15 with the 16 brings it to 31, and then 16 comes back out of that. I get it now. Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry if I wasn't explaining it correctly. So that would go to 31,000. I didn't have anything else on that page at this time. Moving on to the page 8, the B34071, the wetlands enforcement. I'd suggest removing that.
71.
So it will have the 2% increase. So the new number would be 7,913 for line 34071.
7913.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was that zoning support that we're going to strip away. Moving on to page 9. Which is capital. C3 ambulance equipment, 8,000. We'll remove that.
Where's that C3?
C3.
The first one.
Oh, equipment, where it says equipment, you
Yes.
mean? Okay, thank you. And what is it going down to?
0.
Oh,
0.
Great.
C304 town building maintenance.
Yeah,
I would strip that out this year. 0.
yeah,
C349 flight and mapping. I would strip that out.
okay.
So that concludes my curse. What?
3.35. For the SHPO grant?
Oh, we have to add that in.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. C335. Thank you, Christine. So we've applied, we will anticipate getting a grant for that. So we would need to increase that by 20,000.
Right.
So instead of 10,000, it'll be 30,000.
Right.
So same thing as the lakes.
Mhm.
There's an offsetting revenue.
Got it.
Yeah,
So, and I didn't go over the offsetting revenue. I just went through expenses. I don't know if go ahead, Christine.
I think we already had the offsetting revenue in the budget.
Oh, okay.
We just forgot to put the spending it part. That was my fault.
Okay.
Did you want to go back to 20.04 and 20.05?
Oh, yes. So I mentioned that those would be reduced because of the new calculation with taking out the zoning enforcement. So that would be a reduction with a recalculation that.
where are we?
Yep, I'm pulling it up. Sorry.
B2004.
Yeah, Social Security.
Yep.
Yep.
So the ZEO went down, that goes down. So the new number for that is 126,837. And then Mike, do you want to talk about 2005 or do you want me to?
You can talk about it.
So for,
Go ahead.
so for 2005, for the medical insurance, we had done an estimate of a 7% increase. We won't know until October. So we decided to recalculate at a 5% increase instead of a 7%. So the new number for that line is 441,904. So 441,904.
Thank you.
Christine, didn't the Board of Ed do a 0 increase there?
They have a different insurance provider than we do. So I couldn't tell you what they budgeted, but they also have some retirements and different things that are playing into their calculations.
Okay. And speaking of that, Mike, with your announcement, is your number still in here for next year, or is it not in there? Is it in there as a partial, or?
Oh, we can't, I don't think we can touch that because we've got to assume we don't know who's going to be elected for first selectman. And so I think you've got to assume kind of a full contribution on the benefit side of things.
Got it. Then it would just be a windfall if it happened that way. Okay.
Correct. And, you know, we budget for the staff that we have. If anything changes, we may, you know, if someone has a life-changing event, they may have a change in their insurance. So
Understood.
not something that we can necessarily predict.
Yeah, I mean, even with the 5% recalculation, you know, we don't know that it could be more than that, but again, we're trying to be as thoughtful as we can with the budget. Worst case, an appropriation needs to be made. I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. As best, we'll just budget as best we can. So, I mean, even with all these changes, you know, I think I'm not sure that makes much of a dent because there were some ads that had to happen with information that's come in since last time. So I don't know if this, you know, I just touched on some things. I don't know if the selectmen have other discussions.
So Mike, the stuff I looked at when I went through it was all nickel and dime stuff that's not going to really put a dent in the budget. All it ends up doing is it's hurting the line that it was supposed to go to, and then in the long run, it doesn't really help the budget enough to me. I understand that some of the stuff we just did was small, but like on the library, it was small, but it was also, they were one of the last untouched line items going through the budget, trying to be as responsible as we could be. So after going through and thinking, you know, $500 here, $300, I'm thinking it's going to hurt the line more so than help the town, because there wasn't enough of them that added up to big dollars.
Okay. Nita, did you have any other feedback or thought on anything that was not discussed, or?
Honestly, no.
No?
Did you want to talk about the email you received for 911?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Christine, I also got a bit of good news today that our cost for dispatch is reduced as well. So that fee is normally around 45,000, I think. And we received word that it was going to be about $10,000 less. So
Where's that line item, Mike? It's in the
26.00.
26, you said?
26. B26.
Yeah, B29. Okay, got it.
So it's
That's
going
That's going to
40
reduce by 10,000.
Yes.
So the new number is 32,500.
Great. That's good.
Yep. So that's good too. I think if we can give Christine a little time to tell us where we are versus where we were, it may help us to take stock in if this is something we want to go to the Board of Finance with tomorrow night. So I don't know if the selectmen have anything else you want to talk about on the budget. We want to give Christine a couple minutes and I can continue along with some updates that I have here.
Mike, the thing that's going to hurt us is those grants, right? Because we can't make people understand that it's not losing us. It's.
Yes. Yeah, they're not. Yes, we have a story to tell. You're right. So it will appear that there will be more of an impact on the budget than there truly is when you look at the expense side of things. Yes, Nita, you are correct. I mean, we just have to try to inform people about it. I mean, we don't want to not get grants. It's free money from the town.
I agree.
Yeah. So we just have to try to tell a better story about it, I suppose. So.
Yeah, but look at how much we tried to do a better story about the some of these in here with where it's a return type of thing, and people won't listen. They just won't listen. I don't know how we get at it.
But we're gonna show it on the revenue side, correct?
We are, but the problem is that on the revenue side, it doesn't, this is page one. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't show the revenue side. So we need to, we need to just do a little bit better of a job of explaining it. That's all. I mean, we did explain it, and maybe there needs to be some more consideration on page one of our budget that,
Yeah.
maybe that's something we should be thinking about in our presentation.
That's a good idea.
So, Christine, do you want me to keep talking? You know what I'll do? Let me talk about the timeline a little bit first while you're still working on stuff. So we have some things that have to be considered right now with this past failure of the budget. Obviously, tax bills need to go out, and they should definitely generally be in people's hands by July 1st. With the timeline that we're thinking about, I'm not sure that we're going to be getting to a town meeting and a referendum in a time period in which we would have information to send tax bills out in that way. We may need to talk with the Board of Finance about the possibility of preemptively setting a mill rate and sending tax bills out, with knowing that if for some reason something doesn't work out with whatever mill rate we set, we may have to send out a supplemental or something like that, which has been done. We also could consider, which we did 2 years ago, I think, we sent them out. We just got off our schedule about a month, so we actually made them due August 1st instead of July. I don't love that idea. I think people are kind of used to getting their tax bills when they get them. I'd almost rather just set the mill rate and kind of, if we have to react to another failure, then we do that. Or we have to react to a change, then we do that. But with all that being said, I think what I was thinking about for a timeline perspective was basically the Board of Finance acting on the budget by the 16th of June. I know they're going to want a little bit of time. And then with us basically working towards a town meeting, probably on the 30th. It could be sooner depending on what other items are going to be on that town meeting. That town meeting will have other items on it. We have a couple of other things that we have to talk about, which are not on the agenda to discuss tonight. But we've kind of have a running list of a few things that are going to end up on a town meeting. So basically with that timeline, I think we're going to have to probably talk with the Board of Finance tomorrow night, and they can kind of think about it, but not for too long, about the possibility of maybe setting a mill rate or discussing the mill rate that we send tax bills out at their next regular meeting.
Is Is Dan Spring going to be there?
He will not be, he won't be there on Wednesday. I don't know if he'll be there the following Wednesday. So hopefully he'll be there the following Wednesday, but I don't know that for sure. He will not be there tomorrow night.
Thank you.
I am ready with numbers when you guys are ready for me to have numbers.
Do you have any questions about what I just said about the timeline? Okay, because I'm going to talk to the Board of Finance about that tomorrow night as well. So they understand. So we're all kind of on the same page with where we're going.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Christine.
Okay, so it is a reduction in capital of $10,000. So the new capital number is $242,753. The new general government number is $5,177,407 for a reduction of $937.
Oh, Lord.
And so the new total with Board of Ed staying the same, since they are also having their meeting tonight, is $21,174,574. The one thing that we didn't talk about was additional revenue that you may or may not want to add for the transfer station. It would not change your expense number, but it would change the amount needed from tax revenue and other sources.
And of course, those other revenues that we have for grants as well, which we're not talking about right now as you say those numbers, but thank you. Yes, the transfer station information, we should discuss if we want to, and we did say we wanted to include that. So are we favoring a $10 sticker charge and the fees that Donnie outlined on truckloads of bulky waste?
And Mike, I already spoke on that. I'm favoring it.
Favorite as well, Nita?
Yeah.
All right, so
can I add $11,000 to 5.01 transfer stickers?
yep,
And then I need to talk to Susan to see if that's the same place that we would put the bulky waste revenue, or if that would need to go, if there's another place that makes more sense. So I can put 67,500 somewhere in other revenue line item to be named later, if that's okay with you all.
yes, that's fine. I mean, it's fine with me. You guys okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I mean,
I just don't understand why we have the grant revenue, and if it's offsetting some of the increases in the budget, which is making a decrease very small, why we can't represent those? Because
They are,
excuse me,
they are represented.
they're in the revenue section already.
Yes, they are in let me look one.
The problem is we added the revenue in the last iteration of the budget, but we didn't add the
Oh,
expense. And we didn't add the expense because the way we had been handling it a lot of the time was just going through the appropriation process, which doesn't make any sense. If we're doing a budget, we should include it in the budget and then it's already approved. So that's
okay.
what we should be doing.
Understood. So it's already in the revenue side. Got it.
But the transfer station stuff wasn't, so that will help.
So that's in A 3.23, other intergovernmental revenue. And that's included in that 35. We have it in there and not as its own new line item because we don't know that that grant would be a reoccurring grant. So we don't want to create a line item not knowing that we would have to get. Does that make sense?
Are you going to have to reproduce this for tomorrow night?
I don't know. I need to talk to Mike about that tomorrow. See what the plan is. I don't know if we're presenting general numbers or everything.
What I'll probably present to the Board of Finance is a synopsis of all the changes that we just made. So I'll literally pull up a screen and show them line by line what we just did, or what we've decided to do. And rather than produce this entire document and go through that. And then they're going to have some discussion about, what it is, what they think they would like to see, or how they feel about everything. And we'll go from there.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I'll be a
like-
few minutes late for that meeting, but I will be there tomorrow.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else, any other actions that you guys wanted to take on the budget?
Well, when
All right.
when we get to this lengthy thing here about, that we're going to talk about shortly, there's
Water
money
qual-
involved.
That's
The water thing, right?
That's the increase on 27.24.
Oh,
We
okay.
included that already.
It's already in here. Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. All right. I just had a couple of updates. And one of them I don't have in front of me. So the one let me go to agenda item 8, which is 298 Norwich Wesley Road update. I just wanted to, for the benefit of the people, I'm not sure everyone's aware that we did receive a letter of intent to potentially lease or buy the entire building. That did go to I received it. I forwarded it to the Education Center Committee, and they had been talking with the potential suitor. And so basically what we did was we put out an RFP. The Selectmen met special meeting last Thursday. We put out an RFP to request proposals from anyone, anywhere that would be interested in doing something like this, so that there's a fair and open process for any potential bidder. So that RFP remains open right now. So we're soliciting proposals for anyone who would be interested in sale or purchase or lease of the entire facility. Obviously, that will go through a whole town meeting process, if we get proposals and all that kind of stuff. But just to keep everyone abreast of the situation, Bob, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add.
No, that's about it, Mike. I just want, as you just mentioned, it will go through town meeting. So everyone get a chance to ask their questions and vet out what the process is. So I think I'm good with that. Thank you.
Okay. I did want to make sure we kept our eye on the ball with the solar 184 project. There is a hearing just upcoming that public is able to attend for the 184 solar project for anyone who's interested. I think we did update the committee on this, the Board of Selectmen last time on this, that we did submit a scientific review of the property. We, as you know, we contracted with CLA. They were able to submit commentary. And so next up would be the opportunity for anyone who's interested in, putting their own feedback in. They can attend the public hearing that's upcoming in June. And that's what I didn't have in front of me was the dates for that. But it is the beginning of June. I want to say it's like the 7th, or it's the 8th. Because it's the same day as our meeting, right? Yes. So it's June 8th, and if you go on the Siting Council's website on ct.gov, anyone is able to participate in that if they wish to, as a neighbor or a resident of the town.
Have we kept those people abreast of when this is, Mike? I know Julia's going back and forth with a few of them. They know when this meeting is.
So if they had submitted commentary, which many of them did, they would be getting regular emails.
Okay.
So they automatically are on the list for it. So they should be being kept in the loop on that, yes. But I also wanted to mention it in this public meeting, just so everyone's aware. We're doing our best to let people know about it. Okay, there's nothing else there. Agenda item 10 is the review or award of the tanker bids. So we did bid out the tanker, and we did receive a bid back, which was good. And it was pretty close to what we were hoping to get. So I don't think it's quite as much as we were hoping, but it was New England Fire and Equipment and Apparatus Corporation bid $46,501 on the tanker. My understanding is this company is probably going to do a refurb on it and probably sell it for more money, which is fine. You can do whatever they'd like with it. So basically, I mean, it was revenue that we had budgeted for 50,000, so we're getting a little bit shy of that, but we're pretty close. So
that's money for this year, and it will have nothing to do with what we are going to do next year, right?
we budgeted for that revenue this year, so I would like to recommend that someone move to accept the bid, and so we can get the check and put it in our pocket for this fiscal year like it was budgeted for.
Yeah.
We'll have discussion after there's a motion.
Sure. You want to make the motion?
No.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we accept the bid for New England Fire and Equipment Apparatus Corporation for $46,501. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Bob, what don't you like?
So obviously, you can tell that I'm not on the board with this. So we, at a town meeting, we announced that we would set a minimum bid at $50,000. And this came under the minimum bid of $50,000. I know at the town meeting, there was a vote that said we needed to sell the truck versus not sell the truck. There's been many people who told me, people are a lot smarter about trucks than I am, and I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know a lot about trucks. A lot of you have told me that this truck is worth more to the town than selling it for $50,000 or less than $50,000. There's some that have told me that the truck can be retrofitted to be used up at the transfer station for a lot less money than buying a new truck as a hauling truck. I know there's an argument that there's no heat in the 3-bay garage and therefore we can't store it in there. However, it's not going to get down to freezing for another 6 months. That gives us, we have 6 months to do a little bit more investigating on this truck. And I think that if we could do something for $35,000 or $40,000 to this truck in lieu of buying a new truck down the road for the transfer station, which would save the town thousands of dollars, I believe we should do that. It's a truck that's in hand. It's worth more to us than it is to somebody else. For now, it could be used as a secondary tanker while we're investigating what a better use may be. I'd love to get a hold of, I wish I spoke to him earlier, Don Hill, and ask him to look into it a little bit more. I think that we could use this truck. It would cost us a lot. I mean, the pickup truck that was originally in the bid budget was more money than what we're selling this truck for. So I'm adamantly against selling this truck for under what we told the town we would do as a minimum bid. If it came in at 50, I couldn't do anything about it because that's what we told the town, but it came in less than 50. So I think it's a door that's been open for us to change our mind and look at it in a different way. So I'm opposed to selling this truck for $46,501.
You're muted.
Nita, do you have anything?
I just think we have so many things that we have to do that I would go the other way. I still would think we should just let it go, but I don't feel strongly about it. I think it's Bob is accurate. If we said, which I remember now, that it had to be up to $50,000, it's probably going to be a problem with all the people who think this is a very wonderful truck. So do you really want to go down that road?
I talked to the fire chief after the bids came in. He did not think that this was a bad number on the truck. I mean, I think there's people that think the truck could be worth a lot more, sure. I think that we went the extra mile to actually re-ask people. And actually, after we did that, I had regrets that we did that because it really wasn't in line with what we've ever really done. It was in the budget to sell for $50,000. Yeah, we're not getting quite that, but we're getting very close. I mean, it's not. If this was $25,000, I'd probably say, oh, well, we got a problem here. But we're $3,000 off. Do you want to tax people for the $50,000 in revenue that we're not getting? No one wants to pay more taxes. So this is what we budgeted to do, and this is what we should do. And the only reason that I favored bringing it back to the town to even rediscuss, and again, I wish we hadn't done it because I don't think we should have, was just because when we came into office, there was this whole bit about the forestry truck that I especially got caught in the middle of that whole thing because, I wasn't here before and there was a lot of debate and discussion. I didn't want to get into any of that. Like, I just wanted everyone to understand this is what we talked about. That vote was very clear. I don't think it was a matter of, if we were back in that room and people were like, do you want 47 or 50? They're not going to vote differently. It was a very, very clear vote. They wanted us to sell the truck. So with that, I absolutely support selling this truck. I don't disagree that the truck could have other use in town. I don't disagree with any of that. It's just, that's what was decided to do. So I don't, and especially after having already gone back to people and got an affirmative vote to do this, I would not go against what the people already said.
But Mike, if this shows up on the budget 2 years from now as a new truck that we need at the transfer station for $225,000, and we know we could have retrofitted this one, we'll say, for just use a number, $35,000 to remove a tank and put on what they call a fifth wheel, we would just have saved the town almost $200,000 by doing that. I know it's a year or two away, and we have a truck at the transfer station now that is running, and we have a really good mechanic that works on it. But I'm just wondering if we have a week or two that we can investigate this to see if, I bet you if the town knew we could use this truck for, and it costs less than $50,000 to retrofit it and save us on a truck down the road, but that would cost us $200,000, it would make sense.
Bob, I don't agree with you. I don't think the town wants to spend any more money on something like this. And I first of all, the truck doesn't turn into a new truck by us retrofitting it. It's a 1994 truck.
With only 27,000 miles on it.
I'm not saying that. And if then we start getting to the same discussions, well, why didn't we just keep it why didn't we just keep driving it then? We already discussed all this. It doesn't have, the 94 truck, it certainly doesn't have the safety things. And that would go for just being a regular truck too. It's not going to have the equipment that a newer truck would have. I understand that down the road, there could be expenses for trucks. That's the town. That's part of doing business as a town. I'm not disagreeing with your points. I can't get behind going back on a decision like this.
But the decision, when you brought it back to the town, which you already said you wish you had, and what we did, and we publicly announced that we would $50,000 would be a minimum bid, and we came under that, then we're not selling it for what we thought we could sell it for, correct?
Well, I would go back to exactly what the question was. I don't think the question that they voted on had a dollar amount. The question they had was, should we sell, at least in my recollection, Christine, maybe you can try to pull it up, but I'm pretty sure my recollection was, shall we sell the Peterbilt tanker? It wasn't, shall we sell it for $50,000? I think we stated the fact that we would like to put a minimum bid on it. But again, listen, I do a lot of negotiating all the time. We're not talking about, we're not talking that we're $10,000, $20,000 off the bid here. We're $3,000 and then we get rid of it. I'm just saying, it's.
What if the question says 50,000? What if it's in the question?
Then we shouldn't set, well, people told us to sell it for 50, then it would be questionable. I would have to rethink about that.
And I don't know, I can go get it out of my file if Christine can't find it.
I got it. So question 4, shall the town sell the 1993 Peterbilt tanker pumper used by the North Stonington Volunteer Fire Company? 79 yes, 25 no, 1 abstention.
There was no mention of the 50,000. That was just a verbal that evening.
That was a verbal, and it is not in the official minutes from the town meeting. That question is a motion made by Dan Spring, seconded by Dave McCord to move the call. Motion carried. First Selectman Mike Ergo gave background information and welcome discussion on this matter. Discussion and questions followed. Fire Chief Steinhardt gave background information about the fire truck. More discussion followed. Vote by paper ballot on the question.
So, and just for the record, even if it was stated in the meeting, even if I stated it myself in the meeting that we should sell it for 50,000 and that was the bit of a bid, I would stand by the decision that we're not far off of 50,000. I mean, I wish we got 70,000 for it. I think we all thought there might be a reason to possibly keep the truck, which is why we had decided to push it to the town to discuss it. So.
I guess we should
I mean-
just bring it to a vote then.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like, before that, you know, would you want to send out, I'm not trying to be silly about it here, but would you want to send out a supplemental tax bill for the 50,000 that we don't get in revenue that we budgeted? We budgeted for revenue for this truck.
We did last year also, and we took it out, remember? I mean, this was 2 years ago. We originally put the $50,000 in.
Right, we didn't receive it last year, 2 years ago,
Mhm.
so. That's fine. Any other discussion? All those in favor of awarding the bid?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye, nay.
Motion carries 2-1. All right, good discussion. The 11 GEI Water Quality Monitoring Agreement. So this is a continuation of an agreement that we've had for monitoring at the transfer station. I just wanted to bring it to the selectmen because it's a slight increase from before. This is monitoring that we have to do, obviously, to our transfer station groundwater. It is required because it's transfer station. It's all outlined as far as what they do. I don't know if you guys had any questions about it or had any discussion you wanted to have with regards to it. I just wanted to bring it to your attention before I signed it.
Everything I've heard about this company is they've done a great job with it. It's we've been doing, I think, since 1984, something like that. It's similar to when we have auditors, when they do a really good job. We tend to move on with the same people. Maybe every once in a while we should check pricing, but I think in this particular case, at the 11th hour, they've done a great job. In the past, we've had them for a number of years. I think past administrations have worked with them. Now we are. I've got no problem with them, with you signing it, Mike.
Nita, do you have any questions or comments?
I'm fine with it. And you said it's already in our budget, correct?
It's in our budget now, and we're budgeting it right now for next fiscal year for the new amount as well.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
And it's a two-year contract, Nita.
Right. Just as a side note, we're actually going to do an RFP separate from this, the water, and you'll see this on the next selectmen's meeting. The Water Pollution Control Authority Board, they are in the process of updating the sewer plan. Is something they have to do right now. It's up to be renewed. And part of what they need to do is some water testing around town to understand, to help them in their planning process. So there's going to be an RFP that the selectmen will actually look to approve at the next meeting. So it's kind of along the same lines, but it's a little bit different. But anyways, not to get off track, I just want to mention that. So, all right, so I've got the, I'll execute this agreement then. I guess we could just vote to approve the agreement. Do I have a motion to approve the execution of the water quality monitoring agreement with GEI for the transfer station?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, so the next thing is the North Stonington map. So I just wanted to bring this up. A couple of years ago, there was a gentleman who had come and presented to the town about doing a map, which I guess I wasn't at the meeting, but maybe you guys might have been. And I guess it was really cool. And he's done them for Voluntown. I think he's done them for Putnam. They're kind of like a tourism piece. And he basically had this map, like, pretty almost done. And then for some reason, it just kind of fell apart. And so what I wanted to do was re-engage with the guy. He's basically done most of the work. And it would be more of a tourism piece for us. So it would feature some different businesses. I think he might get advertisements, but he does it. I don't think it's going to cost the town anything. I think he gets revenue from doing it, the ads or whatever. But I didn't want to send him to do more work only for it to fall apart on him again, because he did a lot of that already. So I wanted to bring it to you guys to discuss before I kind of gave him like a blessing to kind of finish up. Yeah, go ahead, Nita.
I remember that very, very well, but I also remember that there were others in the group that he was working with that wanted to look to see if there were other people. Do you remember that? Other people who would do
Yeah.
it?
So I think it was brought to EDC, and they wanted to look at nothing ever happened. So now we're going on 2 years, and it's really a tourism piece versus an EDC thing anyway. And I just assume see it happen. So, I mean, the guy's basically mostly done the work.
Yeah.
Bob, do you have any feedback on it?
No, I mean, if it's not gonna cost the town anything, and he's gonna get reimbursement by selling his ads, and it's like something nice for the town, then, why would I be against that? That makes sense to me to maybe go and re-engage with him, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had reached out to him just to kind of see where it was at, because my understanding was he was mostly done with it, and he was, I guess. So I said, well, let me check with my board before I actually give you any sort of okay on it. But I mean, it sounds like it's really beautiful. He's done them for Valentine, and yeah, if we could have a nice piece like that for North Stonington, I think that'd be pretty great. So I just probably would like to just get an authorization from you guys just to talk to the guy, just so there's no question about it. So could I get a motion to allow me to work with this gentleman on developing this map for North Stonington?
I moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Great. Number 13. We are moving all right through this agenda.
Mike,
Yes.
What happened to the food truck that got crossed off here, though?
So I took that off. I don't have a solid update on it. So that's why I took it off. I could give you a tentative update. I guess I could say that, since it was on there. Why don't we add it as 13A? Actually, now you reminded me, I had something else I had to add on the agenda too. Why don't we have a motion to add 13A food truck update to the agenda, and also let me add 18A. I need to add an executive session to discuss staffing, specifically the planner development zoning officer.
So it's two separate motions or one motion?
One motion for both those items is fine.
Our motion to be able to add 13A, discussion on the food truck, and 18A, executive session concerning the planning officer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. I apologize. I meant to add the executive at the beginning. I just forgot. So you just reminded me. So 13, then I'll do 13 first, and then 13A. The COVID-19 update. So just so you know, we are at as of last week, we were at about 41% vaccinations in North Stonington. For fully vaccinated, around 45% for those who had gotten their first shot and were awaiting their second. The state's around 60, so we're pretty low as far as where we're at. So one of the things that is, I guess, it looks like the library is going to host an event about the vaccine, and it's kind of exciting. They're going to have like a town hall type thing where people can become informed about the vaccine and have their questions answered by experts. They're also going to follow that up with a vaccine clinic at the library on June 5th, which is the same day as the food truck festival. And the thought was that they would be able to, so that's kind of how the state is recommending, I guess, that they're doing these, like having some organization do like a town hall to answer people's questions about, the vaccine, and then follow it up with some sort of a clinic. So it's like a call to action. One of the things that they had asked about was if we would consider being able to give like a $5 coupon for anyone who would get the vaccine as kind of an incentive. I did talk to Ledgelight about this because I know people have different opinions about this kind of thing. I wanted to know, is this something that is helpful? And I got a response back from Steve Mansfield, and he said that it is actually helpful if you can do a little incentive for people to try to get them out. He said a lot of people, believe it or not, and I actually can tell you a story personally. I know somebody that this is the case with. They just haven't gotten the vaccine because they haven't gotten around to it. And that might sound crazy for some people who were excited to get the vaccine. Like I personally couldn't wait to get it. I was very excited, but a lot of people just haven't gotten around to it, or they need some level of a push to just get them there. And so this has been successful in some communities that have done this kind of thing. So one of the things that, was an idea was if we give an incentive for those who come to the vaccine clinic, we give them like a $5 off coupon of some way or another that then they could go get they could get that off at either the food truck festival or at any area business in town. So really the library was going to go out, I guess, or was going to talk to the businesses to see, does the brewery want to be part of it? Does Tim Peddler, all the businesses, and all they'd have to do is say yes. And then they would have a patron coming in that would get a $5 off coupon. The reason I'm talking to you about this is that somebody's got to pay for the $5 off coupon. And so I was suggesting that we would pay for it as a town, knowing that that's going to be something that would be totally reimbursable. It's an obvious COVID expense. I don't anticipate that it would be more than, I don't know, $500 or something like that, maybe. If, it just depends on how many of these shots that have been given out. The more there are, the better. So that was kind of the update on where we were at with COVID, and to just kind of get your thoughts on the incentive to see if that's something that you would support.
I support it, Mike, if it's reimbursable. That's fine. I mean, I don't believe government should tell people whether they should get shots or not. I mean, that we can tell them all the reasons why it makes sense to get shots and offer incentives. That's fine. As long as we're not getting to the point of mandating at this point, which is great. So if we're going to just add an incentive for someone to get a shot, I've got my shots as everyone else, so we know it is. But just because I got mine doesn't mean that I'm going to tell someone else they have to get theirs. But if we can do something through incentives and people take advantage of it, and it's not going to cost the taxpayer any money, then that's fine.
I agree with everything you said.
All right, great. I'll take that up under the Selectmen's item line discussion when we get there to talk about where the money can come from initially anyways, before we get it reimbursed. The second thing is 13A, we just added about the food truck. So I'll just say this tentatively, and I don't want to, I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but I talked to the food truck people yesterday, and they're expecting a pretty large turnout. So I guess they were in the process of, they were potentially going to go back and talk to the Grange with the possibility of they might actually, if the Grange wanted to have them go up there for the event, they might do that, just because they were anticipating a pretty large turnout, and I think parking could be better up there. If not, it's not a problem. We'll still be able to host it where it is, but I think it might just be a little more friendly for parking and stuff. So that's why I didn't have it on the agenda, because it's not carved in stone yet. But you should be aware of it, because that decision may come down before we even have a meeting again. So just so you're aware.
Okay.
Appointments. So we got a couple of appointments, and one of them we're very excited to announce, our new tax collector. Thank you to Nita and Antoinette and Christine, who are the hiring team. And I don't know if any of you guys want to add anything about our new tax collector, but feel free.
So her name is Donna Spellman. She comes to us from US Foods. She was a credit coordinator there, so she has extensive experience in collections, so we're very excited to have her. She's been doing some training with the tax collectors from Preston who have been helping us tremendously in this interim time. We're very thankful for everything that they did for us. And she's already picking up things so quickly, so I'm really, really excited to have her on our team.
She's
You're
very,
gonna
very.
say something, Bob?
I was just gonna say, I stopped by to introduce myself today, but I didn't realize she was leaving at 1, so I'm gonna go by Friday. Hopefully I can kill two birds with one stone. I think we might have checks to be signed on Friday at the same time, say hi to her, so looking forward to meeting her. I've heard nothing but good things about her so far, so.
Nita, were you gonna say something? I'm sorry.
No, I was just very happy. It was wonderful to find her.
Good. Yeah, no, we're very happy. And she seems very, very happy to be here. So I think it's going to be a nice addition to the team. So with that, we look for a motion to appoint our new tax collector, Donna Spellman, to the role of tax collector. Motion to appoint.
Is that it? Is that you, Nita? Did you say yes?
Yes.
If she motioned, I'll second her motion.
Okay. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next up, we have the Sustainability Committee. As you know, this was something that we had created a couple months ago, and we now have received a number of applicants. So we'd like to get that committee started, which is really exciting. And you had 4 in your packet, and then 1 came in today. So that was emailed to you separately. So we have the slate of candidates for the Sustainability Committee are Tula Balistrasi, Craig Fasulo, Alexis Kahn, who we all know. Not that we don't know everyone else too, but Alexis has been driving the ship on the sustainable CT stuff. Patricia Turner.
Yeah.
And John Lindsay. So that would be the group to get things going. And then, there'll be some more openings on there if anyone else wanted to add, join the group. But I think that's a nice core group to kind of get us going. And any comments or questions about the slate?
No.
Motion to approve the slate as read.
So moved. I'll second.
Second by Bob. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Then we have the Juvenile Review Board appointments. We have, Larry Chappell for reappointment for a 3-year position, and Cheryl Beaker for a 1-year position, submitted by Joe Gross, Chairman.
A motion that we approve the submissions by Joe Gross as Juvenile Review Board members.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Moving on to 15 grants update discussion. So I already kind of hit on one of them, and that was the fact that we did get an update. We did get a grant from the Eastern Connecticut Foundation for the lakes, which was great news. So we can double our efforts in the lake mitigation. So we're really excited about that, and the lakes folks are excited about that as well. I also wanted to update everyone. I think you guys are aware of this, but I know that I'm not sure the community at large was aware of it. We did not receive the earmark funding that we had applied for through Joe Courtney's office. We had kind of come together as a group to look at the potential of a workforce investment project, as well as some renovations to the 298 Norwich Westerly Road building as a large project. And unfortunately, we were not selected to move forward there. So it doesn't mean there won't be other opportunities down the road, but I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that that did not move forward. So that grant was not received. Any questions on any of the grant stuff? Selectmen's item discussion. So expense items. So I had 2 items that I wanted to bring up for approval tonight. And pre-approval, I would say. The first one is the incentive program, which we already discussed. So I know what, again, I don't know how much that will end up being. I guess I would probably just ask for an approval not to exceed $750, maybe. I just assume we could potentially take it from that line. The other thing that I wanted to discuss is a potential approval. We had budgeted this fiscal year anyway, I think, for employee appreciation. There is still funding available for that. And with COVID ending, not ending, COVID precautions kind of coming to a close here with people getting their vaccination, I was thinking I'd like to do something for the staff, like an outing like we have done over the last couple of years besides last year since we've been here. And I think we had budgeted like $500 for that in the past. So I just wanted permission to move forward with looking at doing some sort of event like that, probably towards the end of June for the staff. So those are the two items that I wanted to bring forward for pre-approval discussion.
Mike, as far as the incentive one, that makes sense because you said we're gonna get reimbursed, so not a problem with that. And as far as the appreciation, I think, as you said, that's a line item in the budget already. It's part of the selectmen expenses. So again, I have no issue with that.
Yeah, I think that would be nice.
It was, and we did put it as a line item in this fiscal year. I think we did cut that next year, just so everyone's aware. But it is something we did have in the budget this year. So I don't know if we need a motion or just acceptance of the fact that this has been discussed, and I'll move those things forward then. Is that fine? Okay. Anything else on the selectmen's expense line discussion?
No.
Number 17, minutes.
So Mike, typically I'm the one that makes the motion on these, but I didn't get I've got May 3rd and April 27th. I see on my agenda May 20th, but I don't have that, and it wasn't in my packet. So I don't know whether somebody else has it, but I can motion on the other two. So when we get to that one, I'll hold off. So I motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from April 27th, 2021 at 6 p.m. as submitted by Bailey.
An amendment.
What do you got?
The SHPO survey and planning grant motion by Selectwoman Carlson.
Oh, really? What number is that? What number is that, Nita?
It's in 6. It's in the second page there.
Oh, 6. Oh, yeah. I missed that. Sorry.
That's okay.
Motioned and seconded with the amendment. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, I motion that we approve the special meeting, Zoom meeting from May 3rd, 2021. That was at 7:30, as submitted by Bailey.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's the last one I have.
I have the meetings of the 20th, the minutes of the 20th.
I do too, if you want me to.
Okay.
Why don't we vote and I can just abstain since I haven't seen them.
Okay.
Okay. I move that we go forward on the draft minutes for May 20th.
Second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstained?
Aye. Mike, can you have Bailey send me a copy of those?
Yes,
Thanks.
she will. Thank you. Public comments on agenda items.
We've got some people.
Bailey will manage those.
Brian Rathman, you're recognized.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd like to comment on what they call it now, the income limit, not the income limit, but the tax relief. I didn't hear anything about if the town puts a lien on the people's property. Because I know when I read it in the packet, it said something about the town can put a lien on the taxpayer's property. And then when he's dead or she's dead, the town gets it from the estate. So really, that's not any relief. That's just putting off their taxes. When you get into that more, I just wanted to bring that up because that's what I read anyways. And I think it should be for homeowners, because I think that's the way it was originally set up. The other thing I was going to say is about the $10 fee for the landfill. I don't know if, I know we got to do something, but I'm not sure. Seems to me I've seen a lot of out of towners up there, which would require, if we as residents had stickers, would help. But we need a way to catch and to find these, offenders. Because I've seen trucks up there just dumping brush that not from our town. I've seen trucks up there with Rhode Island plates dumping garbage into our a big truck that we throw it overboard there. So I think that's probably an avenue we gotta chase. And maybe we have to start being like some of the other towns and have a colored bag, because right now people can come up there with, like I say, I see trucks heaped up. And that might be an avenue we could chase instead of a $10 fee just for the residents. We're gonna charge these people from out of towners. The other thing I just wondered, when I read it about the water, the GEI thing, that's something state mandated, correct? And I'm just wondering, since it's from 1984, it was just another tax that the state kind of put on the towns, the way I see it. How come we can't get, and these people report what they find to DEP, and why can't DEP come down and do the tests themselves? That's, I think we got to start questioning these things, because the state is they got some bills, and I'm trying to find out if it went through or not. Where the residents of our town that own homes may be taxed extra because we don't have enough affordable housing. And there's bills coming through like that. So anyways, I just thought in case you didn't know about those things, and I just thought I'd give my opinion on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And C. Howell, you're recognized.
Hi, I'm sorry, I joined the meeting late, so I didn't hear the entire meeting. I sent you all a letter requesting that the town record meetings so that taxpayers and other people that are on boards and commissions could watch the meetings or listen to them at a later date. I don't know if you discussed that tonight. I don't know if anyone can answer that.
We're in receipt of your letter. Thank you, Carolyn.
Okay. And so my second question, the incentive for the COVID vaccine, if you put that into the budget and if it's not used, it won't be spent on anything else, correct?
It's not going to be in the budget,
No.
but it wouldn't be used if it's not used. It's going to be, what was just discussed was we're going to use it out of funds from this particular budget we're in, and then it would be reimbursable through, COVID reimbursable funds.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. And then phone number ending in 9358, you're recognized. Oh, Oh, no. There you go.
We can't hear you, 9358.
Okay, I'm not 9-3. Can you hear me?
Is that Jonah?
Yeah, this is Jonna. I don't know if that's my computer number, but yeah, this is Jonna Chokus. I live in the village, and I'm glad to see that the speed humps are going through. I would ask that the Traffic Commission, there's been multiple studies done, with those things they run across the road to check speed and number of people and walkers. I would ask if the Speed Commission wants to review that they should go back and look at that data. And that I'm glad that Bob recommended moving forward with the speed humps. It's great. There was just a woman apparently that was hit by a car on the Rocky Hollow and Main Street a couple days ago. So it's something that needs to be addressed. And speaking of data, I want to then go to the transfer station, because I use the transfer station a lot, and I don't understand, and I've always questioned this, how the town monitors who's coming and going, because I don't see anybody checking stickers or checking anything, quite frankly. So before enacting on a paid sticker or any paid anything, I think that's where data needs to be mined to see who is actually using the transfer station and who's dumping stuff there. Just my 2 cents. Thanks, guys.
So I'll just comment on that since two people have brought it up. I've had multiple conversations over the years with the staff up there, and my understanding is they're doing a very good job. Just because a resident views somebody who has a plate that's out of state, that doesn't mean that they don't belong there. It doesn't mean they're not a taxpayer. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't have the right to potentially use it. I would have to defend the staff there. I think they're pretty efficient at making sure they weed people out. They're assertive in going after people when they're doing the wrong things. From what I'm told, I'm not up there every second of the day. The only other thing I can tell you is there is, in the very short term, there will be cameras up there. So we're going to have some additional monitoring that's going to happen. And I think to the point of both that made the comments, having stickers will only help. Having paid stickers will only help to weed out anybody who might be an outlier. So thank you for those comments. Go ahead, Bob.
Just a note. So I worked in Rhode Island. I had a company truck with Rhode Island plates, but I was a resident in North Stonington. I went up a few times, showed my license, and then they started to know that it was me. But so there's a case of Rhode Island plates dumping, but I was full-fledged North Stonington resident. I just happened to work from a company in Rhode Island. I had Rhode Island plates on a company truck. So that was it. That's all I wanted to mention.
Okay, and is P. Lewis, you're recognized?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just had a couple things. On the flight and mapping, you're getting rid of that. And I don't recall, would that help the POCD? I know we have money in the POCD, but have you talked to Juliet to see if keeping that might be a better alternative or part of it instead of the money in the POCD? Because I don't recall I think if she mentioned that, and it might be beneficial to have that. Are you aware of anything like that?
I'm aware that we would like to have the flight and mapping done. I think there's other ways we might be able to get it done. And also the $6,500 was not going to get flight and mapping done. It was to put money towards an eventual flight and mapping that needed to be done. But the money for POC is absolutely necessary and it remains in the budget.
Okay. And on the lakes grant, and now it's a total of 31. Could that be, will they need to do it again next year if they have that amount of money? I mean, will they do an extra super job this year? So maybe it won't be needed in the budget next year?
my understanding is that's not going to eradicate the species from the lakes. It will help a lot more. It will take care of more of the invasive species, but it's not a complete eradication. So no, it's likely that we would try to get the grant again and have to continue to fund this.
Okay, and then on the transfer station, I've seen Rhode Island cars there too, trucks. One day I went there during lunchtime and the staff, I think, was at lunch, and this truck drove in from Rhode Island, unloaded his full truck worth of stuff like in a flash second, and then drove away. And I was wondering, did he do that on purpose at noon times because he knew staff wouldn't be around? But I can't judge because I didn't know who it was. Anyway, if we go with charging for bulky waste, I know some towns have one day in a year where they have a free bulky waste allotment so that people who, instead of having a lot of small trips, or they may be able to have one trip once a year to get rid of their bulky waste stuff, if that's a consideration. And then the other thing was on the COVID. I don't, do you take into consideration North Stonington residents that might be living out of state, like in Florida during the winter, or if they work in another town and they got the vaccine in another town? Do they, is our statistics just because of their street address, or how does that work?
I can't speak definitively, Pat, but my understanding is it's based on North Stonington residents.
Yeah.
So it's people that live here in North Stonington, and that's what our numbers are. So
How do they get record of it? People who have had the vaccination in the state and it comes back to the town?
yeah, and I don't know if they have to have been vaccinated in this state. Maybe they could have been vaccinated in another state. I don't know if that matters or not. I'm sure it's not perfect, but
because I know both those situations where people may not necessarily live in Florida for 6 months to claim residency there, but they may have gone there and got the vaccine there. And then I know another person who lives in town, but because they have property in another town, they got the vaccine through the doctor somehow that way. So I didn't know, if our statistics are so poor just because people maybe still be getting it, but not necessarily in Connecticut. And that's just a thought. That's all.
thanks, Pat.
Okay, can we try phone number ending in 9358 one more time? You would need to hit *6 to unmute yourself. And if you don't have a comment anymore.
Hello.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, it's Gary. And Jonna asked the question about the speed hump, so now I'm up to speed on that. No pun intended. The dump thing, with all due respect, Bob, if you have a Rhode Island registered vehicle, you shouldn't have been dumping there. I think that any vehicle that's dumping trash at the transfer station should be paying taxes in this town. I know a lot of people have property outside the state. They should only be able to dump if they've got a registration that shows a taxable address in this town. And the other thing is, what's driving the bulky waste fee? I missed that nuance. What's the need for change there?
Rather than rehash the meeting and public comment, Gary, I probably could talk to you offline about it, but basically we're going to end up having to close that at some point. So we need to do a little better job of creating more efficiency there.
No, I completely agree. When it closes, then we pay on the scale or we pay by the ticket. I agree. But as long as we continue to have an open landfill, I don't understand the driver for change, Mike. There's no change in service. There's no change in what's going on. So why suddenly would we do it in advance of having to close the landfill?
I think I think that's being planful about trying to extend the life. But Bob, you had a comment?
I just have a question for Gary on the comment he made about I didn't understand his point. So I live in Connecticut. The trash is generated in Connecticut. Didn't fit in my wife's car that had Connecticut plates. So I put it in my truck, which had Rhode Island plates. and brought it to our transfer station where I do pay taxes. So I don't understand Gary's.
So you don't pay taxes at the transfer station, you pay taxes on your wife's car. I have a problem with a car that pays taxes to another state being allowed to dump trash for free at our transfer station.
So it's a truck, not even though the trash was generated in North Stonington at my residence and didn't fit in my wife's car, you're telling me I couldn't put in my truck. So you're saying?
I think it's a loophole that a lot of people take advantage of, and they're leveraging. You know, they have a lower registration fee and a lower tax base in another state, so they have a Maine or New Hampshire or Rhode Island registration because they have a residence there, and they dump their trash here. So we don't get the tax revenue, the personal property revenue from the vehicle, and yet they get the benefit of dumping trash for free. Just something to think
we'll
about.
have a discussion about that one, Gary, because what if my wife generated all the trash, but she couldn't fit it in her car? So we'll talk about that over a beer or something.
That's a personal issue that you need to deal with Bitsy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments, everyone.
Mike, can I make a comment about an earlier comment by Carolyn Howell? So she sent a letter, I saw that, and she asked a question about why don't we record all town meetings? And I don't know the answer to that question, so I'd like to hear that myself. I meant to ask it earlier this evening and I forgot until she brought it up again. So if we have Zoom meetings, is there any fee for us to record a meeting?
Well, I can tell you, Bob, I don't want to get into a long debate about this, but we're not going to be having Zoom meetings probably soon for every committee in town. So you'd have to be able to support that. There's going to probably be storage fees. And quite frankly, recording all the meetings in town is not necessarily, it's a nice to have for people that might want to go watch a meeting afterwards, I suppose. It also puts the town at risk when you have absolutely everything on record. We have a lot of committee members who aren't lawyers. They're just general people who are in town, and sometimes they may say or do something that they maybe wasn't in order or something like that. And I'm just suggesting, it can create a problem for litigation purposes at times. I don't have a problem with our main boards. I think that we've been continuously doing that for a while now, but I don't know that we have the means or the staff or, to be able to do that for every board in town, but.
So record this meeting we're on tonight, right? What did we do differently than we would at another meeting?
Well, the only difference is going to be in a month from now, we're not going to have, a lot of those committees may just be back to just in person. They might not have a Zoom component. We record our meetings because they're on Zoom. I mean, right now.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't cost the town anything to record it. And if you recorded a meeting and you put on a smaller committee, we'll say, and you put a timeline of it's going to be recorded, be available for 1 week or for 2 weeks, and then it's going to disappear. Would that cost the town any money to do that?
I mean, we'd have to have recorders available for each committee and a process by which to do it.
So it is something to record. We have something that we do different about our meeting tonight than we do at, we'll say, an EDC meeting or a planning and zoning meeting.
Well, no, I mean, right now it's different than in normal times. So, I mean, if you want to talk about this, we could put it on a future agenda.
I mean, we also said we're going to probably stick with some Zoom on some committees going forward because it's just convenient for people to sit in a Board of Finance or a Board of Selectmen meeting or a Board of Ed meeting from home when they have small children and whatever happens to be, they can't get out. But I know we've talked about that we'll do Zoom down the road on some meetings. I just wondered in the time being I just want to get to find out if it costs us any money, if it doesn't, what harm does it do to record it and give it a 2-week shelf life or a 1-week shelf life?
Yeah, there's more to it than that. I mean,
we could discuss it later then.
Yeah, and maybe we should discuss it later when we know more about the executive orders that or what's going to be permanent. Because right now we're under executive orders for a lot of this stuff, and that may change when those expire. we don't know what the state's going to require, what they're not going to require, what they're going to allow and what they're not going to allow. We don't know. So a lot of that will depend on how meeting participation looks 2 months from now. There's a lot of unknowns right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I want to move on. Public comments closed. We have one more agenda item, which is an executive session. So what I'd like to do is have the selectmen just turn your cameras off, mute your devices, and what I'll do is give you guys a call on the phone so we can go into the executive session. So I'd look for a motion to enter to executive session for the purpose of staffing as on the agenda item we motioned on.
I motion, so moved.
Second.
Okay, so Mike, I'm gonna stop the YouTube recording and I'm gonna transfer host to you so you can end the meeting when the meeting's done.
Okay, thank you.